Okay, welcome back to our eLounge series. This month of February we have made our theme finances or financial fitness, however you want to call it, but this is going on with the Financial Aid Awareness Week and Financial Aid Awareness Month. Today we are talking about something that a lot of you have asked for more information on, which is the FAFSA. We have Lindsay Partridge here with us, and she's going to give you some insider's tips on how to make sure that you're being successful in completing your FAFSA, and maybe some information that you did or did not already know about how to, do this better. So without further ado, I'm going to let you take it away, Lindsay, and get us started.
All right, can everybody hear me? At least somebody.
We can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today is some FAFSA tips that I've seen some students already struggling with, because the FAFSA you can already submit, and our CIF form, you've probably done it before, is going to be ready to go. So let's get started. All right. All right, so the biggest thing that's a change to the FAFSA this year is something called an FSA ID. If you've ever submitted a FAFSA before, you've done the PIN number. Well, now it's a username and a password. And I'm actually going to turn this video off real quick. 1 second. There we go. Okay, so now you can focus. All right, the FSA ID is a username and a password, and it's causing a lot of stress to some students because they're not remembering what their username and their password was. There are thousands of students who are submitting FAFSAs every single day, so there's a lot of usernames out there. You really, really, really want to write down everything that you put in when you're creating your FSA ID, okay? I'm going to stress this again because it is very, very important. It's verified through the Social Security Administration, so it can take a little bit to get verified. So you want to make sure that you remember everything and that you give yourself enough time before the March 15th deadline to create a FAFSA account. an FSA ID account, all right? So let's just move on real quick. And again, I am going to emphasize the FSA ID at the end of the program. So if you have any questions about it, just keep those in mind, okay? Let's see. All right. So real quick, you can log in with either the FSA ID or your student information right here. It's still going to make you log in with the FSA ID at some point, so you may as well log in with your FSA ID from the get-go to know that you won't have any problems whenever you're trying to sign it at the end, okay? So just for the ease of completing the application, sign in with your FSA ID. That's what I recommend. Moving on, so here's the very first page where you start your 2016-2017 FAFSA. If you did not do a 2015-2016, then this is going to be your start page. If you have done a 2015-2016 FAFSA, it'll likely say something about a FAFSA renewal. That's going to be the much easier option for you, okay? If you have the option to do a FAFSA renewal, definitely do that. It'll it'll pre-fill a bunch of information, like your name, your address, stuff like that. So if that's an option, definitely do that, okay? When you start your FAFSA, you're going to have to create a save key. This throws a lot of people off because they're like, I don't know what my save key is. What is it? It's basically just a 4-digit number. It can be 4 to 8 digits, all right? And you basically just have to, it could be any numbers that you want. This is just so you can come back to your application if you have to stop in the middle of it or something. It's also used so your parents can log in if you're a dependent student, so your parents can log in and sign it. Definitely remember it, make it something that you know, but it doesn't have to be super complicated. This is just for you, okay? One thing that I do want to point out that a lot of people don't realize is that if you look over to the right side where it says helps and hints, FAFSA is very, very, very comprehensive. There's always lots of hints about what you might need to do. Most of the student issues that people come to see me about can be solved just by looking at that right-hand corner, okay? So definitely look over at the right where it says helps and hints. That's a very, very good resource. You can basically figure out almost anything that you need to just by looking at that. Of course, always stop by and see us if you have questions, but I'm going to guarantee you that a lot of your answers are going to be over here on the right-hand side. This is just an introductory page. It's got some general information. You can generally just hit next on this page. But if you have some questions, be sure and read that. It could definitely help you. Now this is the page that everybody knows. It's just your general demographic information. This will all be auto-filled if you do the renewal, okay? You will definitely, like I said, want to use the renewal, but if you don't, it's no big deal. Just input all your information. Make sure it's all accurate, because if it's wrong, it will get flagged in the system for verification, and then you'll have to provide additional documentation to the financial aid department, and nobody wants that. All right, so just make sure it's all right. Triple check everything that you put on here, okay? It's harder to change something than it is to get it right the first time. All right, student eligibility. This is just some general eligibility questions. The things in boxes are a few things that people tend to get wrong, okay? Especially the what degree or certificate will you be working on when you begin the 2016-2017 school year. For students that, and I know we have a lot of these, for students that walk in May but have to finish summer classes, you always want to put will not, what is it? It's something like, oh, I'm sorry, it's still first bachelor's degree, that's what it is. Because you will not technically graduate until August, okay? So we start our financial aid year on summer. So for the 2016-2017 school year, it begins in May, okay? So you have to make sure that you will not have your first bachelor's degree. Otherwise, you'll be classified as a post-bac student, and it can cause a lot of heartache. So if you are walking in May but don't graduate until August, you will not have your first bachelor's degree before you begin the 2016-2017 school year. So just keep an eye out for that, okay? Let's see. This is all typical information. You know the answers to these questions. If you ever have a question about something like this, definitely come in and let us know. Next slide. Of course, you have to enter your high school. Again, this is another autofill thing. You do have to confirm it right here where it says confirm. Just make sure you click that. Some students don't. And then they wonder why they're stuck on this page. Next, school summary right here. I mean, typically, if you're coming here, you know, you're only going to add TW. It could autofill with some previous schools. For example, if your freshman year you sent it to UNT, TW, and UTA, it's still going to have UNT, TW, and UTA. You can go ahead and remove those because you really just need TW. Of course, you have to select your housing plans on there. So on campus, off campus, or at home. Very briefly, some people do get confused on the at home versus the off-campus designation. At home typically means that you're going to be living at home with your parents and you're not expected to pay any living expenses or bills, okay? Off-campus is going to be you have an apartment, all right? If we have any, more settled students listening, sometimes they're like, oh no, I live at home with my husband. Well, that's not what we mean. That's not what FAFSA means, at least. You want off-campus, okay? Next, this right here is a dependency determination, okay? This is going to qualify you as a dependent student or an independent student. The big one that throws people off is the one that's in the red box. Does someone other than your parent or step-parent have legal guardianship of you? Some people will say yes to this if, for example, they live with their grandmother or their aunt or uncle. But if you'll note, it says legal guardianship. It has to be a court-ordered it has to have court-ordered documentation to back it up, okay? If there's no court-ordered documentation, still come in and talk to us because you could qualify for a special circumstance, but that question right there is going to be about legal guardianship, all right? Of course, if you're over 24, this won't apply to you, because if you were born before January 1st, 1993, you're automatically an independent student. For students who maybe are 23, you know, right on that cusp, is kind of different, okay? So you just have to make sure. Next. Oh wait, I want to show you something real quick. Sometimes students have questions, especially about these dependency questions, but again, that helps in hints over here. If you click on the question, it's going to tell you, this is what homeless means, this is what legal guardianship means, so definitely click on that. Very helpful. All right, so this right here, for dependent students, if you say no to all of the previous questions, of course you're going to be a dependent student. You have to provide parental information. If you're unable to provide parental information, what it's going to do is it's going to say, please contact your financial aid office to basically talk to us about what's going on. We'll then guide you to the right thing. Because every circumstance is different. It could be one thing, it could be another thing. We have different forms for different circumstances, okay? So if this is something that's going to apply to you, please stop in and see us. Every case is different, all right? For general, able to provide parental information, let's move on. This tax sheet right here is going to look the same for both students and parents, of course, except where it says parents, it's going to say yours. Really try to do the IRS data retrieval tool. If you look in that first red box, it says to determine if you can use the IRS data retrieval tool to transfer your tax return information, answer the following questions. If you answer no to all those questions, you should be able to link to the IRS. That is the most important thing, other than the FSA ID, of course. Linking to the IRS will prevent the need for you to submit tax documentation to the financial aid office. But a couple of you maybe had to do that, or you had some friends who had to do that. We used to be able to take 1040s, which is your tax return. We now have to take the tax return transcript. It's kind of a pain to get, honestly. You have to order it from the irs.gov. They have to mail it to your house. At some point, they will have the online version available, but it hasn't been available since basically August of last year. So I'm not looking too hopeful, okay? It takes 10 business days to be mailed to you. So, and if you've done something like changed addresses since you completed your tax return, they won't be able to send it to you. You then have to go in person to an IRS office. So it would be best if you can link to the IRS. Now, sometimes it's kind of inevitable that you can't. You have to do an amended tax return, or your parents had to do foreign tax return, or you just did your taxes and you want to get your FAFSA in because the March 15th deadline is approaching. That's okay. You can still do the IRS tax return transcript. It typically takes a little less than 10 business days. I tested it myself and I got mine in about 7. So it wasn't too bad, but it's still kind of a pain, especially when that deadline is looming, because let's say you submit your FAFSA in February, but you're get selected for verification. Well, your file isn't complete until we get all those documents, okay? So you really need to, one, if you're selected for verification, stay up to date with what you need to turn into us. But a lot of it can be avoided by using the IRS data retrieval tool, okay? That's one of the more important things that I really like to point out. And both students and parents can do that, FYI. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you actually try to transmit it. It's going to say, okay, you're leaving. Are you sure everything's okay? You click okay, and it's going to take you to the system right here, okay? Of course, click okay. It's got a whole lot of legalese. Right here, you'll see you have to, the number one thing is where the street address is. If you'll see, it says must match your 2015 federal income tax return. It has to match it exactly, down to the periods, to the dots, to the spaces. You see how it says 4050 Alpha RD test? Okay, if you spelled out road there, it would not pull it up. It would say inaccurate information, can't do it. You have to manually input your information. So it would be best if you have a copy of your tax return so you can type it in exactly how it looks. And do note that if you have to order the tax return transcript, if you don't live at that place anymore, then it's not going to come to you. The Postal Service will not deliver it to you if you no longer live at that address because it's confidential information, okay? I do see a couple questions about the tax returns. We'll get to those very shortly, all right? Let's see. Okay, so this is what it looks like when they auto-fill it. Okay, this is all the information that's going to be transferred over to FAFSA. At the bottom it says, transfer my tax information, do not transfer. You'd be surprised how many people click do not transfer because, you know, it's very legal looking. Definitely make sure you transfer it, of course. All right, and here's what it looks like once you've officially transferred everything in. It'll say transfer from the IRS. And you can basically just hit next and go on from there. Again, this is what it's going to look like when students do it as well, even independent students. You just, again, won't have to do anything for your parents. And right here is what the sign and submit page looks like, okay? Here's the student signature page. Now, if you'll notice, this right here is going to have all your information stuff. This is because somebody signed in with their FSA ID when they were doing this. If you did not sign in with your FSA ID, okay, and you signed in with using your personal information, it's going to ask you here to sign in with your FSA ID, okay? Just keep an eye on that. Like I said, you're going to have to sign up for it at some point, so you may as well do it right when you start your FAFSA. All right, and here's, for my dependent students out there, here's what your parent signature page is going to look like. If you'll note, your parents have to have an FSA ID. Some students are trying to sign it using their FSA ID. It's not going to do anything, okay? It's just going to say wrong, can't do it. One or both of your parents need an FSA ID for multiple reasons. One, so they can always find your FAFSA, and two, so if you ever have to apply for something like a Parent Plus loan or whatever else, your parents can then access the information, okay? Let's see right here, do not enter the FSA ID if you are not the parent, okay? So just make sure that your parents have one. It doesn't mean you can't help them set it up. And then also know what their information is, because a lot of parents sign up for it and promptly forget about it. That's also causing a lot of heartache too, okay? So if your parents need an account, I would definitely help them sign up for it. All right, here's where I was talking about the FAFSA renewal right here. That's what it's going to look like. If this button pops up for you, you definitely want to click it because it's going to auto-renew all that information. Something that is not hard to put in, but it's just, you don't want to make this process any more difficult than it already is. This is what it can look like, your FAFSA. If, say, you got to the very end of the FAFSA and you realize, oh, my parent doesn't have an FSA ID, this is what it's going to look like, okay? You can leave the FAFSA while you help your parent set up an FSA ID, and then you can just log back in, provide the signatures, and you'd be good to go, okay? This is, when you click in to the provide signature page, this is how you can do it. Highly recommend FSA ID. We've had a couple people in the past year do the signature page. It took, my last one, it took about 6 to 7 weeks for FAFSA for them to get it, for them to log it in, and to then send the information to us. Definitely FSA ID. If you submit it without signatures, it's not done. Point blank, it's not done. It's going to come into us as invalid, and you're going to have to sign it anyways, okay? So FSA ID is going to be the fastest and the easiest way to do it. I definitely recommend it, okay? If you do it that way, we'll receive your FAFSA within 3 to 5 business days. That's about how long it takes for us to get into the system and for us to download it, okay? Right here, here's just some more FSA ID stuff. This is just what it's going to look like if you needed to sign it for your parents and your student's signature. Just showing you what the screen is going to look like in case you get, a little confused. Right here, this is the screen you want to see. This is the confirmation page screen. Right here, of course, it would say Texas Women's University. It would have our graduation rate, retention rate, and various other information. Now, it is going to give you an estimated EFC, expected family contribution, okay? We kind of wish it didn't do that because things could change, okay? It's going to give you some estimates. Right here on this one it says we cannot calculate an expected family contribution unless you have special circumstances or you've done something wrong with your FAFSA. It's going to generate an estimated one. I wouldn't put too much faith into it. Just have to make sure that, you know, if it doesn't give you one, you might really want to come talk to us because there could be an error with it. If it does give you one, just kind of take it with a grain of salt. It could be accurate. It could be wildly inaccurate, okay? Once we receive your FAFSA, we can give you a better estimate, okay? But don't necessarily take what this page says as gospel. So next slide. Okay, this is what you really want to see. It says application status processing. This does not mean that TW has necessarily received it. It just means that it's on its way to us. It also doesn't mean that we are working on your file. It just means that FAFSA has sent it to us and you're okay. You definitely want to contact us and make sure everything's okay. You'll receive emails, but some students don't check their emails, or you know, things get lost in the shuffle because you receive so many other emails from your classes or anything like that. Just, you can always stop by or give us a call. You can also check My Documents on your web advisor to see if you have any documents that need to be sent to us, okay? So don't just take this, you know, by saying it's processing. That doesn't mean anything. That just means that you have sent the FAFSA to us. All right, and then process successfully. That's how we know that we actually got it, okay? So that's a good thing to see. If you're stuck in processing for, I would say, longer than 3 weeks, you definitely want to contact us or contact FAFSA. It doesn't hurt to stop by and see us, especially if, well, this isn't going to have any freshmen, but sometimes if you ever change your social security number, you have to make sure that you change it with the school too, because we will not pull in your FAFSA if your social's wrong, all right? So just make sure you do that. Otherwise, that's pretty much the end of my presentation. I do want to emphasize the FSA ID. Let me go back to that page real quick right here. FSA ID, please go ahead and create it, okay? FSA ID is that new program. It started May 10th of last year. If you submitted your FAFSA before May 10th, 2015, okay, your 2015-2016, if you submitted it before May 10th, you may not have an FSA ID, okay? Especially if you haven't had to log in and change anything in the past year. You likely don't have one. You'll want to, one tip that I give students is if they can't remember if they have an FSA ID or not, is to go to your main email addresses and just look up FSA. If you just look up FSA, there will likely be emails in there, unless, of course, you delete all of your emails. But there will be an email from FSA saying, okay, please verify, or congratulations, you have set up an account. That'll at least give you the email address that you use. Remember, it's all being verified through the Social Security Administration, so it can get a little woolly if you don't remember your passwords and stuff. We do, yes, I did say FSA. It's an FSA ID, Federal Student Aid ID. This is an ID number that is, or an ID username and password that is going to be used, for example, if you do your student loan information, all that stuff. So FSA ID, I will talk about it until I am
for those who don't have the FSA ID, because they either have done FAFSA earlier and have a PIN number, will they need to, in fact, create one now?
I would go ahead and do it, because if there is an issue with you creating your FSA ID, there has been some identity fraud involving this, okay? So you need to make sure that it's that you're going to create your ID with your Social Security number. You may as well create it now. That way, when you go to do your FAFSA, you're not going to be running into this issue, okay? Now, if you still remember your PIN number, you can actually use that PIN number to help the FSA ID process along. So if you can remember it, try to remember it. Otherwise, it'll take about 3 days to verify it. So if you use the PIN number, I think it's almost within 24 business hours. So,
Lindsay, we have a lot of questions. So my first question is, you were talking about doing your tax return and working with the FAFSA together. The question was, do I need to wait to do my tax return, or do I need to do my tax return first before I do my FAFSA?
What? Oh, can you hear me? Okay, I clicked too many buttons, sorry. Okay, you can go ahead and do your tax return, okay, and then actually so y'all can see me. Hi. Okay, y'all can go ahead and do your tax return. The only issue is that if you do your taxes now, you should wait. If you want to use the IRS data retrieval, you need to wait 3 weeks. But from the time your taxes are accepted by the IRS, you need to wait 3 weeks to try the IRS data retrieval, because that's actually one of those questions that will not let you do the IRS data retrieval. Okay, so 3 weeks, but you can go ahead and do your taxes. I would send her. You can, oh, real quick, you can do it as estimates, but you're going to have to go back anyway, so you may as well just do your taxes beforehand. Next question?
Yes, great, thank you. So my next question is, whenever you were talking about the information renewal on the FAFSA, the question is, does that or does that not fill out previous financial information?
It will absolutely not fill out your financial information, because that situation changes from year to year. So it's going to fill out things like your name, your address, high school information. It'll actually also include your, it'll also include the school that you attended last year. So it's gonna fill in like the little information, but not the big financial information. So, yeah. Next question.
Okay. How important is the data retrieval?
Data retrieval is super important, Miss Kat. If you can't do it, that's okay. If you can do it, please do it, because it will prevent the need for you to provide additional information to the financial aid office. You would have to do something called the tax return transcript, and it's not hard, it just can delay you, okay? Especially if students don't order it right away, which we all know things can fall by the wayside. So, next one.
Okay, the next question, it's a bit different. So I'm just going to read it, Kat, with a C. I'm going to read exactly what you said. You said, I got married at the end of August 2015, so I was able to file single still for 2015. Will that cause a problem when filing out 2016-2017 FAFSA? Or I will say the same as my taxes, single, or will it matter that they don't match?
That is a complicated question. That's kind of a situation where I'd like to sit down with you and find out, okay, you married here, what's your tax status? If you filed single, you're really just going to put the information that you put on your taxes, but we can ask for your husband's information, okay? So be prepared to provide that. That can affect you. Even though your taxes are just single, it can affect you. Maybe not too much, but again, that's a situation where I may want to go into it in greater detail, or that's something that a counselor can go into. You can always set up an appointment to meet with a counselor on campus. You know, we take appointments generally from 8:30 to 3 is typically our last appointment for the day. For more complicated tax situations, I definitely recommend sitting and talking to somebody in person, or just giving us a call. That's very easy too. So. Next question, Ms. Jennifer.
Okay, my next question is, how can you request additional aid for the current year? And I know how that works is a budget review request, but can you talk a little bit more on how to get that information and how to complete that form? It's actually a multifaceted answer, okay? So if you need additional money but you haven't met your cost of attendance yet, you could apply for various loan options, but for most students, it's going to be the budget review, okay?
not even for most students, for I would say about 50% of students, it's going to need to be a budget review. What that is that allows us to increase your budget so you can then apply for additional loans, or sometimes additional, typically not additional grant, but each situation is different, okay? The budget review form, we have a cover sheet, so you would need to come into the financial aid office and grab the cover sheet from us, or we can email it to you. We can always email documents. One of them is going to be, the documents you would need to provide with that is basically a listing of your bills. Some students will print out their bank statement and black out the stuff, that isn't applicable and highlight, here's my electric bill, here's my housing bill, here's, you can't put car payments on there, but you can include transportation costs, so gas if you have to commute a really long way. That's something that you can definitely put on there. Receipts, if you have receipts. A lot of students need money for housing, a copy of your contract, a copy of your lease agreement, stuff like that. The cover sheet is fairly comprehensive. It'll list exactly what you need, but bills are pretty much the big part. Next question?
The next question, Lindsay, is Kat, she's in Houston. Okay, can she get counseling over the phone?
Well, there's two options for you. One, we can set up a phone appointment. This is something we're doing that's fairly new, so there may be some confusion depending on who you talk to. We can typically do phone appointments. It's just going to depend on the scheduling, what you're needing from us. But phone appointments, yes. We also have a Houston campus where Jennifer Lewis, she is located. She is a member of the financial aid office. She's kind of like she's the one-stop shop down there, but she can get you in contact with people in the Denton campus, or she can give you pretty much, she's not a counselor, but she can give you generic financial aid information as well as provide documents that you might need, like the budget review sheet or any one of the other number of documents that we have available. So you have two options, phone appointment for sure, but there is somebody available to you in the Houston campus. Okay, her name is Jennifer Lewis, and she's lovely. Anything else?
I don't see any other questions right now, Lindsay, but I want all of you to know that for participating live today, we have a prize for one of our lucky watchers, but we need your TW email address. So if you could do me a favor and put it in the chat box located right below here, put your email address in so we can contact our winner so we can get that prize to you. For all of you who may have come in a little bit late for this session, this is being recorded, so if you want to watch a playback of this, you can access that from our website on twcommuter.com, so that's easily accessible to you. And then also tell your friends, tell other students about these services that we're doing. We are doing these e-lounges for you. All that you are asking for, the information that you want more info on, those are the reasons why we're doing these specific e-lounges. So we encourage you to share this with your friends, to share the recordings if you think that this is good information. So we're making sure that we're, getting the biggest bang for our buck. I'm looking and I'm still not seeing any other TW email addresses. So before you exit the e-lounge, please make sure that you put that in. And thank you very much, Lindsay, for all of your information. We really and truly appreciate your participation today. And we hope you have a great Wednesday and great rest of your week.